youngest gold medal winner in the last 56 years.
And also good news for the USA. In the absence of Wendy Leanne Williams, the Americans weren't sure that they'd get a medal off the tower, but Mary Ellen Clark comes home with a bronze medal. Let's take a look at what's happening on all of the channels today. On the red, we have swimming finals, and the one to look for here, the men's 100-meter fly. Defending Olympic champion Anthony Nesty of Suriname is the favorite, but Pablo Morales of the USA had the fastest qualifying time this morning, and will look for the upset. Also in boxing, Raul Marquez of Houston, Texas fights in the 156-pound weight class.
And on the white channel, men's gymnastics compulsories, the USA team is led by two UCLA Bruins, Scott Keswick and Chris Waller. And then a little later on, equestrian, 3-day dressage.
And finally, coming up on the blue channel, Greco-Roman wrestling, American Dennis Kozlowski won a bronze in '88. He's having a terrific tournament. And the marquee basketball game, perhaps, of this tournament, the USA and Croatia. Chuck Daly says that these guys are the toughest team outside of the Americans here. And I'll tell you what, Ahmad, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan cannot wait to get their hands on Tony Kukoc and see how good the Croatian star really is.
But when you talk about a dream team, you think Chuck Daly isn't having a dream coaching these players?
but Chuck Daly, the prince of pessimism, right? He's like, oh, those Croatians, they're so tough. I don't know if we can get by them.
Coaches have to say that, and we have to say this. We are done. We will now send you out to men's gymnastics with Greg Lewis and Peter Vidmar.
Inside the gymnastics venue for these games in Barcelona, Spain, we are set to begin the second group of the men's team competition, the Compulsories. The athletes marching in. There will be two Americans in this competition, Jair Lynch and John Roethlisberger. Hello, everyone. This is Greg Lewis, along with Julianne McNamara, Peter Vidmar, and Wendy Hilliard, bringing us reports and interviews from the floor. The USA starting off very well this morning in group number one, Peter Vidmar.
They certainly did. They got off to a very consistent start. I was really pleased to see Trent Demas having a great time out there as well. He had the highest score on the horizontal bar, a 9.725, and then was 7th all-around. Dominique Minaguchi, seemed that his sprained finger didn't bother him that much. He was 10th all-around so far. Highest placing was 6th on pommel horse. It's a nice, solid start for the USA guys.
Leading the all-around is Yutaka Aihara of Japan, 57.375 out of a possible 60. Germany's Oliver Walter is in second. Li Dechuan of China in third, and he is just 18 years old, so an impressive Olympic debut for Dechuan. Let's talk a little bit how the team competition shapes up, though, right now.
In first place, the surprise is China with a score of 114.425. Second place, the unified team, trailing only by less than a tenth. In third place, Germany. In fourth place, Japan. And in fifth place, the United States with a score of 113.775, trailing China by 6.5 tenths.
I'm a little surprised this morning, Peter Vidmar, you know from your Olympic experience, just as Julianne does, that it's important for everybody on the team to hit. And the top unified competitors, Rustam Cherepov, is only in 5th place. They had some difficulties this morning.
They sure did. Sharapov fell off pommel horse, only got an 8.775. That's a terrible score. And Bodopayev got a 901 vault when he sat down his handspring full twist. So that means that the next competitors, or the rest of the competitors for the unified team, must hit their horse routines and must hit their vaults, so they don't count an unusually low score. Now, if you take away these low scores, though, certainly the unified team would jump ahead of China. Their scores are higher when you look at their top scores. As a result, I don't think that they really feel that threatened. And the fact that China's in first place now isn't indicative of where they're going to be at the end of the competition, but we'll see how bold my predictions are.
Well, from the '88 Olympics, it was then the Soviet Union taking the gold medal, East Germany in second, the silver, and Japan takes the bronze. That was '88 Olympic Games. China was 4th, the USA in 11th, and the USA certainly looks like it can finish much higher than 11th in these Olympic Games.
No question about it. I mean, right now they're sitting in 5th place, and I talked to the coaches, and I said, is this where you want to be? And actually they said, yeah, we were planning on being right around here, and we can move up from here. And we see John Roethlisberger now on the vault, taking a little warm-up for his handspring full twist.
John Roethlisberger, one of two Americans in this second group. Jair Lynch will also be representing the USA. They will both start on the vault. The unified team has two very strong competitors, and Grigori Misutin, and he will be on the floor, and he is a former world champion, and Valeri Belenki. Inside Palau San Jordi, competitors getting set for the second group of men in the team competition compulsories. Greg Lewis along with Olympic gold medalists Peter Vidmar and Julianne McNamara for the commentary, and down on the floor we're going to be getting reports and interviews from rhythmic gymnastics star, now retired, Wendy Hilliard. The USA starting off well this morning.
I was really pleased again with the USA performances. We've got two guys here that I think are kind of like the backbone of the team with Jair Lynch and John Roethlisberger. These guys can score well, and I think potentially could move the USA up from their fifth place standing right now. They've been talking a lot about challenging for a medal, and they're going to have to do it right now.
China has the lead in the team competition. The unified team is only in second because of a couple of problems. Sharapov only an 8.775 on the horse. Voropayev only a 9 on the vault. And now we look at the 91 world champion start on the floor exercise, Grigori Misutin.
He's off to a fine start in his floor routine. This is Misutin. He's the reigning world all-around champion. A lot of hype on Kim Zemeskal, but this is the Kim Zemeskal of men's gymnastics, or you could say that Kim is the Misutin of women's gymnastics.
Having watched Misutin in training, he was my pick. I'm surprised he's in the second grouping. He's my pick for the all-around gold medal.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Definitely. He looked unbelievable in workouts, and I'm surprised to see him here.
I'm curious, maybe the unified team simply wants to guarantee that they win this team title, so they stick their great gymnast in the middle to help build the scores, for example, for Sherba and Korobczynski, who are coming up in the final group. I think most likely if Misutin hits, that'll put him into the all-around finals, then it's a clean slate. And so he still has a chance to establish himself and defend his title as the #1 male gymnast in the world.
High bar and rings are his favorite apparatus, so we're seeing him in the floor exercise, which is not his best, and yet his performance was quite magnificent. His teammate Sharapov, Rustam Sharapov, has the highest score posted so far on the floor, 9.750.
He's off to a fine start. He'll get a very good score here, no question. He just looks confident. I think that on the floor, the guys are goofing around a little bit here and there, and you know, of course, they're serious. But he looked very, very serious, Jeff, the one-ups.
Well, this is a face that we'll come to know. We will see him certainly in the all-around competition and in the individual event finals, and of course, day after tomorrow in the men's team competition optionals. Grigori Misutin, 21 years old, from Voroshilivgrad, Ukraine. More Ukrainian athletes in the competition for the unified team.
Just glancing off, I noticed that Jair Lynch of the USA had a disaster on vault. He did his handspring full twist and he rolled forward, and for a second there I thought it was warm-up, but it certainly wasn't, and he's going to have a major deduction on vault.
Misutin's score on the floor is the highest. He has surpassed his teammate, and it is 9.8 now, the highest score on floor by Misutin. We go to the parallel bars, and we are watching Hatakata of Japan. Jair Lynch's score on the vault was a 8.975.
And that's a problem, because Jair scored a 9.95 at the Olympic trials. It's his best event, and they're looking for a great score from him, which could make a difference in the team standings. And so now all the other guys are going to have to make sure that they hit their vaults for the USA.
Hatakata of Japan completing his parallel bars. This is rotation 1 of group 2.
And we get an overhead view from the Skycam on parallel bars. That was Hatakata's front uprise sits to a handstand. He did it actually as good as it's been done in the competition.
9.675. It is the second best score we have seen on the parallel bars for Hatakata of Japan. The Japanese in the team competition after their first grouping in 4th place. behind Germany, the unified team, and China. Guo Linyao of China, trying to maintain his nation's lead in the team competition. John Roethlisberger has completed his vault, 9.375, 16th best. Matsunaga of Japan had the highest on the vault, 9.6 this morning.
Another young gymnast from China, only 19 years old. Very, very strong and powerful gymnast, especially in floor exercise. Good straight arm stütz, or peach. Very high back stütz. Very clean body line. Looks like he's very much in control on parallel bars.
'91 World Championships, silver in the pommel horse, bronze on the parallel bars. This is
Back
his
toss.
event.
Very nice pike open. This will score well. So far, parallel bars is going to be a high-scoring event, looks like, in this rotation.
Well, he is the best from Asia on the parallel bars, won the Asian Championships in 1990 on the parallel bars, and as we said, bronze medalist on the parallel bars in '91 World Championships.
Our bird's eye view of his peach into his front uprise stütz. And there's his pike open. Very, very high.
Guo Linyao. 9.725. It is the highest score of the meet so far on the parallel bars. So China gets another boost as it tries to hold off the unified team in the team competition. Men's compulsories, Group 2. Of 3 groups, there are 33 men competing here.
We're watching Lee Chung-yang getting ready now for the parallel bar routine. And he's a bit older. He's 24 years old.
Certainly he has taken a boost out of the solid performance of Guo Linyao, who has set the standard.
There's his peach basket. Beautiful peach basket to a handstand. Straight arms. A great stütz. This is going to be a great routine if he stays on. He is right on the money now. This is a better routine than his teammate, who got the highest score so far of the games. And this is where it opens the door to get very high scores. When someone goes up and gets a great score, and the next guy does a better routine, the judges have no choice but to give a very high score. Let's see what happens. That was a great routine. There's no question it was better.
Lee Chung-yang from Guangzhou, China. We talked about the women being very young. Carrie Strug from the USA, for example, is just 14, and Lee Chung-yang is 10 years older than that, at 24.
Very curious to see what score he gets. Not much of a difference, a 9.75. I was surprised. I thought it would be at least a tenth of a point higher. I really did.
Instead, it is just 25 thousandths higher, but the Chinese are 1 and 2 in the parallel bars. Lee Chung-yang, Guo Linyao, and then it is the unified Rustam Cherepov, who has the 3rd highest score. The top score for the Americans on the parallel bars, Trent Demas in 7th. This is Ruggero Rosato of Italy. With chalk flying about.
The Italian team faced a setback recently with their star, Yuri Chechi, injuring his leg. I saw him in a cast earlier today. He's out of the competition. And it's a big disappointment for the team because they've had some great performances from Chechi over the years. He's one of the top gymnasts in the world. Good peach basket to a handstand. Here's that front upright stutz, very low. Much different than the Chinese. You'll see him getting a lower score right off the bat, just from that one skill there even.
Rogero Rosato, somewhat of a Charles Atlas type of story, began his gymnastics career when he was 7 years old because he thought he was too skinny, and he wanted to add some muscle to his frame. So he has definitely achieved that. We'll see if he can add some points to his score.
I wonder how many 7-year-olds are worried about their muscles.
Well.
It's interesting that he followed two Chinese gymnasts with the two highest scores, and he admires his favorite gymnast is a former Chinese gymnast, Lu Yun, who competed at the same time that you and I competed.
That's right. Great gymnast from China, Olympic champion on the vault.
Rosato 9.450, and that almost seems really generous.
In a way it does. It was somewhat of a mediocre routine. It just didn't seem like he had anything that sparked a good score, but 9.45, not bad.
Rolf Buchner of Germany.
Rolf Buchner is the world horizontal bar champion from the '91 World Championship in Indianapolis. He's a very good gymnast, and he's kind of a key element in the German team. A little low on his peach, and his legs came apart on that stitch. That was surprising.
Former East German competitor.
Very, very strong. The German gymnasts are especially strong in their upper body. Nice pike open dismount.
While we have been watching the parallel bars on the high bar, Valeri Belenki of the unified team, a 9.825 to set the highest score on the high bar so far. So he is adding some impetus to the unified team's effort to catch up to China. And this is Jung-jin of Korea on the ring.
The key element in the ring compulsory is an in locate towards the end of the performance. Now after this shoot to a handstand, he lowers down to a straddle L. This will be followed by a hollow back press. We call it a hollow back because you should be nice and hollow. The back should be very straight, pressing up to the handstand. And here's the kick out. There's the in locate through the handstand. Very few gymnasts can do that. That was a very well executed skill. Could get a very good score in that routine.
Jung-jin Soo from Seoul, Korea.
Once again, the key element in the rings is that in locate. Many gymnasts have problems taking it to the handstand. He obviously has none. Right up to the handstand, as strong as I've seen it done so far in the Olympics. There's his pike open, very high dismount. That should merit a very good score.
Well, in the World Championships in Paris in '92, he finished 44th on the rings as the first rotation is complete. And we apologize that we were not able to bring you American performances.
I had a glance at Jair Lynch's vault. He went way too over on his vault. He rolled forward and just got an 8.95. I mean, that's almost a point below his potential.
And like you said, Peter, I mean, that is such a huge disappointment because that's Jair's one of his strongest events.
Well, if we look at Valeri Belenki now, he is going to be on the high bar. This will be the highest scoring performance we have seen on the high bar, Valeri Belenki. And before we go down to Wendy Hilliard, let's comment on this one, Peter Vidmar.
Well, the key element here is hitting all of the handstands and having a very high dismount at the end. So far, he's right on track. A beautiful toe point. Very clean body. Clean body line. Here's that for Ronan. Very high. Now, Now he sets up for his dismount. It's a giant and then into a double back. There it is, 1-2, opens up early, perfect landing. Just an excellent performance.
Valeri Belenki, one of the two unified members who is competing in this second grouping. Before he came up on the high bar, the highest score on the high bar was shared by two competitors from the first grouping, Matsunaga of Japan and Trent Demas of the U.S., a 9.725. And Trent Demas' coach, Ed Birch, joins our Wendy Hilliard right now. Wendy?
Thank you, Greg. I am here with Ed Birch, and we've just been watching the routine of Belenki. First, let me have your comments on the routine we just saw.
It was done very well. He did miss about 2 or 3 handstands in the set. Therefore, it's kind of highly impossible to score a 9.825. But this is the second rotation, and of course, as the rotations go long, the scores will go higher.
Well, let's go back to Trent's performance earlier today. Tell us about the overall performance here at the Olympic Games.
He did great. He hit every single set. He had a little problem pommel horse, but after pommel, he just went full speed ahead, and he did a great job finishing on high bar for us. He finished 7th overall at the end of the first session, and we are currently now in 5th place as a team. So anything can happen from this point on. We set the pace. Now they've got to finish it, the rest of the guys.
Now, besides the team competition, I know the USA is going for that bronze medal. What are Trent's individual goals in this meet?
First and most importantly is to hit 12 sets, 12 routines. Secondly, hopefully win a medal for the team. And third, try to get a medal or get in medal contention for a horizontal bar. That's a big thing for us right now.
Now, we've been talking about the road for both Lance and Trent to these Olympic Games. They both train with you in New Mexico, and they're not in the collegiate program. Tell us a little bit about the trials and tribulations they've had to get to these Olympics.
Well, this has been tough for us, basically because of injuries. You know, Lance got hurt earlier in the year with a shoulder injury, and he didn't start competing until 6 weeks prior to the trials. So that put us at a very bad handicap. He came through, he made it to, of course, the Olympics, and Trent had some shoulder problems also, and it's been a very difficult year to get here, but we're here, we're happy, and we're ready to go full speed ahead.
What about the outlook for the optional round?
The good thing about the optional run is we're going to be on the floor as a team. So as each team member gets up there, we're going to try to generate some momentum and see if we can get those scores pumped up for us. We look good as a team. We're very solid. We're very deep. We're 6-man deep. So hopefully our team standings will pull us up even further.
Now that you all have been away from home for a little while, you're training in France, is everyone hyped and ready to go, or are they a little bit tired?
No, we're ready to go. We're not tired, I assure you. We've trained very hard, but we've trained very smartly. So I would think we're just excited to get on the podium and represent our country and do the best we can.
Thank you, Ed. Any questions from Peter up there?
No, I just wanted to know if Dominique, if he's fine, if his hand is okay, because I know he had a problem with that crack in his hand and also his knuckle.
We just wanted to get a report on Dominique and his hand. Everything going okay so far?
Yeah, he's got a small rib, but other than that, he's fine. His fingers are a little sore. He jammed them, but other than that, he's okay.
Thank you, Ed. Back to you, Greg.
Thank you, Wendy Hilliard and Coach Ed Birch. Let's take a look now at the team standings after this first rotation of Group 2. China had started on top when we began Group 2, and the unified team with excellent performances from Belenki and Misutin has taken over the lead and is now the #1 team. China second, Japan third, Germany fourth, and the USA is holding on to fifth, which is encouraging because really Roethlisberger and Jair Lynch not having their best performances in the first rotation.
No, I think, it's the meat jitters. This is their first Olympics for both of them. I think probably the most inexperienced in international competition is Jair Lynch, though he's had a very good career in the United States. He's just getting going. He's young, and it showed on his vault. It was very surprising. He completely over-rotated a handspring full twist, had to roll out of it, did a forward roll out of it, and that's just a terrible misfortune for him.
Hatakeda on the high bar starts off the second rotation for Japan.
You heard Ed Birch talk about hitting the handstand. This is very critical. There's a few chances to go up to a handstand. We're not talking about swinging through a handstand on a giant swing. We're talking about certain elements where, for example, here, after doing the Veronin right there, if they can go all the way up to a handstand, that's much more difficult, and you also flirt with disaster because you could go the other way and have just a terrible problem. Mitch Gaylord had that in the '84 Olympics by going over a handstand in the compulsories. That prevented him from winning a medal on high bar.
Takeda Yoshiaki of Japan. His parents encouraged him to play baseball when he was younger. That'd be good news to Bob Costas, but he didn't like it, so he turned to gymnastics at the persuasion of one of his elementary school teachers. However, his favorite team is the Kintetsu Buffaloes, and I imagine that Bob Costas could probably give you the stats on the Kintetsu Buffaloes. I think they're in the rotisserie league, actually. 9.750 for Takeda, and that is the second best score on the high bar, behind Belenki's 9.825. In fact, I believe it ties with, no, it is higher than Trent Demas' score. So Trent Demas is now the third highest score, is with a 9.725.
You know, the Japanese are quietly going about their business. I mean, they are doing they're just doing their routines the way they're supposed to. We're not seeing a lot of spectacular performances from them, but they're very consistent, and this is the way they've always been.
Guolin Yao. Jair Lynch has just competed on the parallel bars, 12th best, 9.550. So he has regained his composure. Jair Lynch of the U.S. And again, we quickly explain that our pictures come from the world feed. We do not control them, so we'll give you the coverage as we get it, and hope that we do get some of the Americans in this second group on for you.
There's a very nice high Veronin. So far, this routine is right on. Very good routine. Now let's see how high he takes his dismount. Amplitude's critical here. Up, opens early. It's a good double back dismount, but not spectacular. In a way, it was a little bit conservative, but his toe point was good, his form was good, and he'll get a very decent score.
19-year-old out of Beijing. Says he has no idols in gymnastics because he doesn't have time to admire any other gymnast. He's so intense about trying to improve his own routines.
I wonder if that means he doesn't watch anybody else? I don't think so.
Obviously, he hasn't met you, Peter, and Julianne, or he would have idols.
I don't know. Good routine, though.
Guolin Yao, 9.725. And that will tie him with America's Trent Demas. It is Valeri Belenki who has set the pace on the high bar, though, for the unified team with a 9.825. And now moving up to the rings.
This is Miguel Rubio of Spain. Rubio actually is a familiar face in USA gymnastics, having competed for the Houston Baptist University in NCAA competition. Very spectacular, flashy performer in optionals, and good gymnast.
Is there not a controversy involving Houston Baptist?
In gymnastics, well, they've had some problems. They've recently dropped their gymnastics program there, and it's the way that many of the schools are going, unfortunately, in collegiate gymnastics, due to budget cuts and such.
Miguel Rubio completing his rings routine. We await his score. We'll tell you that John Roethlisberger of the U.S. did a very nice job on the parallel bars at 9.50, and then that is the 15th highest score on the P-bars.
And it's time for John and Jair to really try to get the pace going here for the USA. If they're going to challenge for a medal, they have to get tough right now and get some very good scores. If not, they're going to find themselves in the same position they were in last year, hovering around 5th place. And they really have to get going.
The U.S. men's team winning the team title in '84, then dropping rather dramatically to 11th in the '88 games. And Miguel Rubio, score for him on the rings, 9.575, 10th best. we stay with the rings, it will be Han Yoon of Korea. Next up. This is
another young gymnast. He's
Han Yoon.
only 19 years old. Again, the Korean team's been very, very powerful in vault. They're strong gymnasts. They're very physical gymnasts. Now he lowers down with bent arms from the handstand, which is a bit of a deduction.
That almost looked like another move, the way.
Yeah, it really did. It's, you know, they have choices to go bent or straight. Naturally, they're very strong gymnasts to go with straight arms, and I'm surprised that he didn't do that. There's that hollow back press. Nice and straight, though. Very still on the handstand. Kicks out. Here's the in-locate, not through the handstand. It's a decent routine. It's not going to score very high. Certainly not the best performance so far.
Han Yoon-soo will give you his score as soon as we have it, as we get ready for Sven Tippelt of Germany on the floor. Tippelt, a veteran competitor with many fine performances.
Certainly one of Germany's top gymnasts for many years. Very strong performer.
One of the older gymnasts at 27 years of age.
27 is almost geriatric in gymnastics. Last 27-year-old, though, that stands out, of course, was Koji Gushikin, who won the gold medal in the all-around competition in 1984.
Tippelt in the games of '88 in Seoul was bronze medalist on the parallel bars, bronze medalist on the rings.
Almost overshot that handstand there. Here's the press to a handstand. Once again, the sign of control is someone who can catch their breath while they're upside down. If you look at their stomach, breathing in and out.
Is there a time limit on the men's compulsory?
No, there's no time limit in men's compulsory. It's just performance of the routine.
So Sven Tippelt finishes up on the floor. Han Yoon, we saw before we broke to Tippelt on the rings, a 7th place so far with a 9.6.
This is probably Tippelt's weakest pass, his front tumbling pass. Not a lot of amplitude on his handspring dive roll. And here's his dismount. So round off back handspring layout with a full twist. Opens up and a good landing.
Tippelt a 9.525, and that is 0.275 behind Misutin's floor exercise. Tippelt is feeling a little bit, perhaps, the age. Looking at his biography, he has been in gymnastics for 19 years. So there are very few women gymnasts who are 19 years old.
That's right. It's amazing. It's the nature of the sport. You got to start young. The only problem is in men's gymnastics, you reach your peak a lot later in life.
Valeri Belenki comes to the floor. Remember that he has the highest score on the high bar, competing for the unified team.
Very beautiful straddle jump. His toe point is spectacular. So far, this is just beautiful. Very nice high tuck back. This is one of the most beautiful performances I've seen so far in the floor exercise. It's difficult to make this into a pretty routine. It's a very awkward floor routine.
And who is he trying to take the floor lead away from? Grigori Misutin, his teammate, 9.8.
Very nice, beautiful body line. Getting ready for his round-off back handspring layoff. That was very high. That should be the best score of the meet. No question that was the best performance so far. The scores have already been high, but that should definitely be the highest score.
Valeri Belenki, we watch again with pleasure.
Even just a jump, a simple jump, he makes it look good. His fingers are together, his toes are beautifully pointed. He's very conscious of the way his body looks throughout the entire performance, not just when he finishes his skill or at the beginning of something. He looks good throughout the entire performance. Just a great routine.
Can he top 9.8? Grigori Misutin, his teammates, score. The unified 9.5. Correction. We're still waiting for the score.
No, it won't be a 9.5. 9.875.
9.875. So he has gone to the top in 2 rotations. He has been the best on each apparatus he has touched. First the high bar and now the floor. So Belenki, one of only 2 Jewish athletes on the unified team. The other, Tatiana Lysenko, on the women's team. The unified team now extending its lead in the men's competition after the compulsories of women's competition. Unified number 1, USA number 2, Romania number 3. This is Ivan Ivanov of Bulgaria.
Now this floor is just a little bit slippery. It's made of some synthetic material that just does not give the guys a lot of grip. Ivanov is using shoes, feeling of course that's going to give him a little better grip on the floor. Here's his scale. Setting up now for the 2 flares. Not very extended. Scraping his legs on the floor. Once again, it's a very awkward routine, and unless you have mastery of skills like Belenki, this looks a little bit awkward. Layout full twist, hop on the end. Okay routines. He's not going to get a great score.
Ivan Ivanov, the European Championships in Budapest in 1992, 8th in the floor exercise.
Optionals is where it stands out. European Championships is an optional event, and so he has better optionals than his compulsories. He's only 17. He's got some years to improve.
Remember that the team competition, 2 aspects. Officially, it's 1A, which is the compulsories, and then 1B, which are the optionals. The men's optionals day after tomorrow. Women's optionals tomorrow, and Kim Zemesco will be trying to earn a way into the all-around. She is 5th after her 9.3 disaster on the balance beam, 5th on the U.S. team. She must be in the top 3 in order to qualify for the women's all-around. So that's tomorrow. We'll have it all here on our triple cast coverage of gymnastics, women's optionals in the team competition. We have completed now 2 rotations. And we look at the men's team competition. It is the unified, which has lengthened its lead now to a full 1/10 of a point over China. In 3rd place, Japan. 4th, Germany, and the USA holds on to 5th.
And we're looking at a tape of the ring performance of Csaba Fajkus of Hungary. He's been around for a while. He's a spectacular high bar man, but a very good all-around gymnast. Very confident iron cross. And shoots up to a handstand down into his straddle L. To the handstand. Let's see how he does that in locate. If he has got the strength and the power to take it through a handstand, not quite. Nonetheless, a good, solid performance.
Bubba Fakush on the rings. This is a replay of his performance earlier.
Hungary looking to make an impact on the team score.
And we saw the score there for Fakush. They are now the men in their warm-ups for the third rotation. And in this rotation, Jair Lynch and John Roethlisberger of the USA on the high bar. This is Grigori Misutin's performance earlier on the pommel horse.
There's a spindle, beautiful flare work. This guy wants that Olympic all-around title.
And
He's going to be in trouble with Belenki. Belenki's having just a hot meet right now.
Misutin did take the lead on the pommel horse with this routine, 9.625.
Beautiful dismount right up to a handstand. A little form break in one part of the routine, but that's good enough for the highest score so far. And yet Belenki comes up, who was the 1991 world champion on the pommel horse. So looks like Belenki's going to start widening a little lead if he stays as consistent as he's been.
You know, interesting, Belenki on 2 apparatus. He takes the lead on both of those. Misutin on 2 apparatus. He is second on the floor to his teammate Belenki.
But he was first until Belenki came along.
Exactly, and then he gets on the pommel horse and he takes the lead over there. So we're getting a more clear look at the strength of the unified team here. The top 3 out of this session so far are Belenki after 2 rotations, 19.7 out of a possible 20. And then it is Guo of China, 19.45. And then Li Chunyuan of China, 19.45. They are tied, the 2 Chinese. So the Chinese are really hanging tough in there. The USA still in 5th. And we get set for the 3rd rotation. And with Jair Lynch and John Roethlisberger on the spectacular high bar, we can hope that the world feed will give us high bar pictures.
The warm-up period is over. The competition will now continue. Apuremos el periodo de calentamiento. Continúa la competición.
It appears that we'll be starting on the rings with Cho Hun of the People's Republic of Korea, and that, of course, is North Korea.
And here's a team that was disappointed at the World Championships. They were 14th as a team, so they're not here as a full team. They're only sending a partial team, just 3 gymnasts. Who was 81st all-around at the World Gymnastics Championships in Indianapolis. Shoot to a handstand, lower down to a straddle L.
Meanwhile, John Roethlisberger is on the high bar. And sticks his landing. We'll give you a little radio play-by-play.
As we watch Cho Hun finish his ring routine.
What's the key to keeping the ring still?
Well, I think the real key is having constant pressure on the rings, Julianne. Many times the gymnast will swing up to a handstand, and their whole goal is just to get to the handstand, and they create slack on the rings. And when you have that slack, and then you try to stop, and the straps shake, you might swing back and forth. Probably the best gymnast in terms of keeping control of the rings was Jim Hartung from the USA. Always had constant pressure in the rings.
John Roethlisberger's score on the high bar, 9th best, a 9.675, as we await the score of Cho Hun of Korea, North Korea. And it's a 9.475, 20th best. Mario Franke of Germany with a 9.75, who has been the best on the rings. Now we go to the horizontal bar after John Roethlisberger has completed his performance to see the Bulgarian Duenev.
And as we try to see how well he hits his handstands. Nice little hop there, raising his arms, add a little flash to the routine. The women's compulsory starts at 10.0. If they do it, there was a very high Veronin there. And he goes over the top. That's called flirting with disaster and failing. He went right over the top. Going to get a big deduction there. Tries to add a little flash to his dismount, but he is one frustrated gymnast. That's a big problem.
Krasimir Nikolaev Duenev of Bulgaria, 19 years old.
Another bird's eye view. And here's his Veronin. Let's see if they show all the way to the problem. He takes the Veronin, does the hop, wants to go, oh, they didn't show it. Now here's his dismount, double tuck. And there's got to be a look and feeling of frustration for him.
Belenki has the highest score on the high bar, 9.825. Belenki of the unified team. And Duenev awaiting his score.
We'll probably see more of him in the future, though. He's only 19 years old.
And I think you really have to give him credit for taking that risk and trying to push the limits.
Just lost control.
Well, we can hope that we now will switch over to the rings to see Misutin. Duenev, 9.125. We'll see if we go. Yes, we are going to the rings for Grigori Misutin, who has so far the highest score on the pommel horse, the second highest score on the floor. He competes for the unified team, former world champion from '91 in the individual all-around.
I wonder how he feels having Belenki breathing down his neck, though. Every time he does a routine, Belenki follows and does something better. So we always have to remind ourselves, though, that this is just compulsories. And when it comes to determining the all-around champion, compulsories will play no factor in the final result.
Third on the rings in 1992 individual event world championships, April in Paris.
So far, so good. Doing it quite well. Down to his straddle L. Hollow back press to a handstand. Looks like he's rushing his routine just a little bit. Let's see if he can take this through a handstand. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. It's a good routine, but it's not the best performance of the competition so far. Take a glance off to the left of the rings, and while you can't see on your screen, I did notice that Belenki was performing on pommel horse. Hopefully we'll see this after this rotation, as we have the break in rotations. And it looks to me like Belenki did a better job than Misutin again than on pommel horse. But here's his dismount, nice and high. Potential to score well, but will not be the highest score on rings.
Belenki is just completed his performance on the pommel horse. We await his score as we watch Misutin, and we get them both at the same time. Belenki has indeed topped his teammate and gone to the top, and the scores on the pommel horse with a 9.750, and Misutin has taken over from the German Mario Franke on the rings, and it is 9.80, and he has the highest score.
And that should not have happened, because it was not the best ring routine so far. I can probably name just a couple other routines that were even better, and it's just disappointing that that he got such a high score. Didn't think that should have gone that high.
Well, so far Belenki has achieved the highest score of the meet on every apparatus on which he has performed. Through 3 rotations, he is the best.
And we're looking now at a very popular gymnast in Europe, Johan Johannesson of Sweden. He trains alone. His father is his coach and has performed very, very well in European championships and many other competitions, and has a very good reputation.
You like him best on the high bar?
He's very, very good on high bar. A spectacular performer. He was 4th all-around, though, at the European Championships in 1989. So that's with 3 Russians. He was the #1 non-Soviet gymnast.
Johan Johansson from Solna, Sweden. And he's getting up there in years as well at age 25.
There's his dismount. There's his in locate, not through to the handstand, however.
Johan Johansson, 9.6 on the rings. That is a full 2/10 behind Grigori Misutin of the unified team, who has the top score on rings, a 9.8. Gabriele Sala of Italy on the high bar. Following him, if we stay on high bar, will be America's Jair Lynch.
A little flat in the first part, but seems to be making the routine okay. Bends his knees on his tap for the Verona. That should be a deduction. The tap is the skill or the type of swing that allows that Verona to be performed, and he bent his knees before it. This is a fairly weak routine.
Sala of Italy.
But he's
nonetheless,
pleased.
he is pleased. So we know that his expectations are different, of course, than those of someone like Belenki.
And that's what's nice about the Olympic Games, is everybody out here doing their best.
It's also one of the nice things about the triple cast. I have to say I've enjoyed being able to show gymnasts that we wouldn't normally put into one of our programs because time limitations. You would focus on the top athletes. But now we get a chance to see athletes from a variety of countries and those who are here doing their best, even though it isn't the best of the meet.
Certainly, and it's what the Olympic Games are all about. We all know that, and yet sometimes we focus so much on who's going to win that we miss some other performances that make some gymnasts and coaches extremely happy, regardless of what place they come in.
Sala 9.450. That is 28th best on the rings, and he continues to have a look of contentment. Next on the high bar, Jair Lynch.
And as Jair just probably is trying as best he can to shake off that shock of having done a terrible vault, having done the forward roll after the handspring full twist. And this is the sign of a champion, someone that can pick it up. And let's see what happens. This is a very good event for Jair. He's a great high bar man. Hopefully he doesn't get too mad at himself and try to do it so much to the ultimate that he goes over the top. Many chances for handstands. So far, so good. There's his stoop right up to a handstand. Very good. Getting ready for his Veronin. Done well. Could have gone a little higher after the Veronin, that hop. Could have gone up to a handstand, but let's see how high his dismount is. His double tuck. Opens nice and early. Little tiny hop back. Most likely the judges, of course, are going to take a 1/10 of a point off there.
Stanford University's Jair Lynch, and we had said yesterday that Dominique Dawes was the first black woman gymnast to represent the USA in men's competition. 1980, Ron Gallimore. 1988, Charlie Lakes, and now Jair Lynch in 92.
And there's his Stalter. And this is his Veronin, named after Mikhail Veronin of the Soviet Union, a number of years back. Double tuck, opens up, and here's that little bobble as he has to take a step back.
Jair Lynch, 9.650. And that is 14th best. 1/10, 0.175. behind Belenki.
I must say I was still pleased to see him doing that double back well. He does not do anything swinging backwards for a dismount. He does a very unique and exciting dismount that starts flipping frontwards. And so he works on a different tap in optionals.
Well, it appears that we're going to go to the floor exercise.
This is Takashi Chinen of Japan. A little older, he's 25 years old.
You know, the Japanese won 5 straight team titles between 1960 and 1976, Peter. What really has happened to the Japanese since then?
I don't know if it's so much as what happened to the Japanese, it's what happened to the Soviets. The Soviets all of a sudden just put together some fantastic teams. Years back in the early 50s, the Japanese were moving up on the Soviets, and yet they weren't getting the great scores, and they realized that they had to be so good that you just had to remove all doubt. And that's what they did. Starting in 1960, they started to dominate the sport of gymnastics. And they started to fall back, and it's simply, I think, a rise of the other nations, and they did not keep up with the pace. They were not being as innovative as the other countries were. The Soviets were clearly the most innovative gymnasts, and they were being rewarded for it. Takashi is a member of a gymnastics club. He works for the Kawai Music Instrument Company, and in many of the gymnastics teams in Japan have sponsors, corporate sponsors. These gymnasts actually work for the companies maybe a half a day, and then they go and train. And this is a way that many of the post-collegiate gymnasts can continue on with their gymnastics. He's 25 years old. He's done with school.
Takashi Chinen of Japan. His favorite discipline is the pommel horse.
Here's that front tumbling pass. His bounder handspring into a dive roll. And his dismounts. A round off pec handspring layout with a full twist. Not super high, but a consistent performer, which is a sign of what the Japanese have been doing throughout this entire competition. They've been very, very consistent. They're not scoring the highest scores of the meet necessarily, but they're getting good high-level scores, and you'll find them that they're always up there as a team.
9.675 for Chinen, and that is the 6th best on the floor. Now his teammate will come out, Takeda.
And here's a young one, only 20 years old.
Yoshiaki Takeda.
And his best event is the floor exercise, is the pommel horse, pardon me. We see him on the floor now. At the 1991 World Championships, the team from Japan was 4th. Just missed a bronze medal, but in the all-around, he was 10th. Takeda was 10th.
It seems that the Japanese men have a new motivation to really get back to where they used to be and really rival the top unified team, and it's nice to see that they're really back. I can see the motivation in workouts.
Yeah, they're always consistent. You never really see them make mistakes. Their biggest problem is that they have not been innovative. And I think that the most important element in being a trendsetter, being a leader in gymnastics, is you have to be at the cutting edge. And that's one of the reasons why the Soviets are always the best lately.
Takeda of Japan. The Japanese took the bronze medal in the team competition in '88. In the '89 World Championships, they dropped down to 4th behind China. And in the 91 World Championships, they dropped to fourth, so they remained in fourth behind Germany, China, and the then USSR. So that completes the third rotation. And the star of the second group so far has been Valeri Belenki. Every time he touches an apparatus, he turns it into the highest score that has been achieved on that apparatus so far.
The gymnastics Midas touch.
We're going to move now to the fourth of 6 rotations. The Americans will both be on the floor, Jair Lynch and John Roethlisberger. Valeri Belenki this time will go to the rings, and we'll see if he can take control there. Misutin will be on the, his teammate, Grigori Misutin, will be on the vault. Right now, we have an opportunity to talk to the coach of Dominic Minicucci, Fred Turoff, who is with Wendy Hilliard, and of course Dominic competed in the first group this morning. Wendy?
Thanks, Greg. I am here with Fred Turoff. He's Dominic's coach and the head coach at Temple University. First, Fred, let me get a comment of what you thought about Dominic's performance today.
Dom had a pretty good performance today. Of course, as his coach, I can see little things in each routine that I'd like to have him do better, but he made every routine. He had 5 out of 6 landing sticks, so it's hard to complain about that kind of performance.
Now, both Dominic and Trent did a great job as far as setting off the U.S. team. Looking at the performance at this point of Jair and of John, how do you think the team status is doing?
Well, right now we're doing real well. After the first round, the distance between first, actually to us, and fifth was very small, within a point. And we've only had one big mistake so far today. That was Jair's vault, but they picked up real well. And if they keep it up, I think we're still in that fight there for the medal contention.
Well, speaking of fighting for medals and fighting for teams, let's talk a little bit about the collegiate program in the U.S. because I know it's very special to you. Many of our men's team members are from the collegiate program, and we're in a bit of trouble now. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The situation is this. You have to have a certain number of sponsoring institutions to guarantee a championship. And we're below that number right now. But our championship can continue because in the past we've always made money on the championship. But recently, some of the rules were changed, and this year we lost money. So my committee, I'm the chair of the Men's Gymnastics Committee, made changes in the championship structure in an effort to reduce costs. We've also asked the NCAA Executive Committee for permission to do certain things that will further reduce costs. If we can do that, that would be fine. If we can get more public support in terms of buying tickets, that will help us out a lot, too.
Thank you, Fred. I'm sure that public support for men's gymnastics will be coming in. Thanks so much. Back to you, Greg.
Thank you, Wendy Hilliard. And we're now going to see Valeri Belenki's pace-setting performance on the pommel horse. Belenki scoring a 9.75 on this, and he took the lead, of course.
Absolutely gorgeous routine. Look how high his hips are off the horse when he swings in his double leg circles. His scissors are high. His toes are perfectly pointed. His hips are much higher than any other gymnast so far in the competition. Just look how high they are off the pommels. Extending right up to a handstand. This was a fantastic routine.
9.75 Belenki scored there. As we mentioned earlier, he has taken the lead on every apparatus through 3 rotations. Peter, getting your hips higher, isn't that partially a product of just your body type and the length of your arms?
It is, but if you swing wider, then your body will be higher off of the pommels. Many of the gymnasts tend to stay tight. They sit on the pommels, they're piked, but if the body is stretched, they're completely straight, and if the gymnast swings fast, if you took a stopwatch and timed Belenki's double leg circles from as the time that he came around, he comes around a lot faster than the other gymnasts. He swings very fast, very high, and certainly, of course, it's physiology. I mean, just if your arms are longer, you're going to be higher up off the pommels. It makes a difference. And he's got all the qualities of a great pommel horse man, and that's why he's the world champion from 1991.
Well, it is Belenki who is the leader after 3 rotations here in Group 2. Valeri Belenki, out of a possible 30 points, 29.45, and that is very impressive considering he is in the second group and scores are being held back just a little bit for the third group to come out. Behind him is his own teammate in second now after 3 rotations, Grigori Misutin, 29.225, and then from China it is Li Chungyang in third.
So what I like, Greg, is the drama about the Olympics is that with this new life format, after the team competition, as we start the all-around finals and the apparatus finals, then it's new life. The gymnasts start literally from scratch, which means if someone makes a mistake, they're just about out of it. And it's going to add a lot of drama to the competition. Looking forward to the coming days on the triple cast with the all-around finals and the apparatus finals. It's going to be very, very exciting.
Tomorrow will be women's optionals in team competition. Day after tomorrow, we'll see these men doing their optionals. And I know that Peter Vidmar, you believe that we're going to see optional routines that will dazzle even the most jaded gymnastics fan.
Oh, no question. We've got cutting-edge skills. We saw Sherba doing a triple twisting double layout off the horizontal bar. 2 of the Chinese gymnasts are doing triple backflips on the floor. We have Misutin doing a spectacular handspring double front on vault where he kicks out and has been sticking it in practice. Sherba on the vaults doing the famous Yurchenko vault that many of the girls are doing, but with an incredible amount of power with a double twist, and also doing it with a full twist before his hands even touch the horse. For those of you that don't understand these tricks, stick around because they're worth watching later on this week.
Men's team competition, the current standings, and of course this is really not what we're going to, because of the scoring system and because the lowest scores from each team will be dropped, this is only an indicator. But it is, at this point, after 6 rotations in the first group and 3 rotations in the second group, the unified team is first, China second, Japan third, Germany fourth, the USA remains in fifth, Italy sixth, and Romania seventh.
I think the magic number for the USA is how far they are out of third, not how far out of first. And
we go to the pommel horse to start off the 4th rotation with Li Chunyang of China, who is currently third in the standings in this group.
It's a solid routine, but after seeing Belenki's routine, this is just not quite the amplitude, for example, that Belenki had. Getting ready for his dismount. Ooh, not very high. This was not a very great routine for the Chinese. No question that this could be a lot lower. But he seems to be happy.
Well, during the rotation change, we watched Valeri Belenki's 9.750. Belenki was best on the floor with a 9.875. And he was best on the high bar with a 9.825. And in this rotation, we'll see Belenki go to the rings as we wait for Li Chunyang's score from the pommel horse.
Well, it's nice to see a little style on the Chinese gymnast there. Usually it's the standard crew cut, and now you see him trying to look a little stylish there.
9.450 for Li Chunyang. Talking about style and talking about fashion, a story that we learned of between the first and second groups that I find a little bit fascinating, and I'll just read from the news release that was given us here. The Fédération Internationale de Gymnastique, that's the FIG, in accordance with point 5.2 of their regulations, has penalized 3 gymnasts for incorrect dress during the women's team compulsory exercises in competition 1A. 2 of these, Zhang Ji and Lu Li, are from China, whose team has been given a deduction of 0.2 points. The third is Daniela Bartova of Czechoslovakia, whose team has been given a deduction of 0.1 points. And what is the reason, Peter?
Well, I checked and I asked one of the officials of the International Gymnastics Federation what the problem was. Was it because they're wearing a logo that's not allowed, for example, in Olympic competition? And he said no, their leotards were cut too high over the hip. This is not the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition of gymnastics. They want some sort of modesty from the girls. They thought the leotards were simply too high in the hip, and they deducted them for it.
We go to the rings, and Sven Tippelt.
German strong on rings. Tippelt lowering through the inverted cross all the way down. Very nicely done. There's his iron cross. Remember, he's 27 years old. Shoots up to a handstand. Here's his straddle L. Now, based on that strength we saw earlier in his routine, let's see if he has enough strength left to do the inlocate to the handstand. He goes right up through the handstand very easily. That was a good routine. A little bobble on the landing, but I was very impressed with his power. Here's the shoot to a handstand, lowers down to his straddle L. Watch this, pushes all the way through the handstand, up to the handstand, which gives him a lot more power from the handstand to do a very high pike open half twist for his dismount.
Former East German star. East Germany taking the silver medal in the '88 Olympics. Sven Tippelt 9.750 on the rings, but it is not enough to take the highest score position away from Misutin of the unified team.
And here we go. We see Belenki now on the rings. Is he going to be another thorn in the side of his teammate, Misutin?
Well, Misutin had a 9.80, and so far Misutin has been what you might call an elegant table setter for his own teammate Belenki, because Misutin had the highest score in the floor exercise. Belenki came along and beat it. Misutin had the highest score in the pommel horse. Belenki came along and beat it. Misutin has the highest score on the rings, 9.80, and now we'll see if Belenki can beat it.
So far, he looks fantastic, I have to be honest. Holding his cross seemingly forever. Boy, he is right on. He is really ready at this competition. I am so impressed. He did not show as much in workouts, but this guy is ready for this competition. He's hungry. He wants to win. Look at that. Through the handstand, nice high pike open. This should score higher. This was a better routine than Misutin. This guy is setting the pace for the competition. This is just a fantastic competition so far.
9.80 for Misutin.
He better get a higher score, no question.
Can I change my prediction for the all-around now?
No, we can't do it yet. We got to see optionals first. That's the thing that's deceiving. Once again, there's gymnasts that win workouts and gymnasts that win competitions. Misutin proved himself, of course, at the World Championships, but he just always looks good.
Belenki, 9.875, and he has done it again.
Yes.
He moves to the top, this time 75 thousandths above his teammate Misutin. And we'd like to tell you that Misutin has gone on to the vault to set the highest standard there, 9.725, and Belenki will be on the vault the next rotation. So if this continues, Valeri Belenki is going to have to give his teammate a pat on the back and say, hey, thanks for paving the way. Now on the parallel bars, it is Miklos Pancel of Hungary.
Here's his back toss, getting ready for his pike open dismount. Well done.
Lee Chung-Yang has the highest score on the parallel bars for the moment, but that may be because in the fifth rotation Misutin will be on the parallel bars, and in the sixth rotation Belenki will be on the parallel bars.
And what is there to come in the final session? That's the amazing thing. You've got Igor Korobchinski.
Right, the '89 world champion.
You've got Vitaly Sherba, who is the big trickster on the team, does all of the new stuff, if you call it, in gymnastics, and we'll see how they do in compulsories.
The score for Pancel, 9.4.
Chalking at the bars now is his teammate, Shaba Faikush. Faikush is a phenomenal horizontal bar performer. He's very, very good. And we'll look forward to seeing his routines, for example, in the optionals. Ooh, bends his arm and the has to struggle a bit. He's already lost probably 2/10 of a point just right there on the mount. And yet does a front upright stutz right up to the handstand. You kind of see him regrouping his hands all the time, kind of re-catching his hands, wobbling a little bit. Sometimes it ends up becoming almost just a habit. Not that he needs to do that. There's his dismount pike open very low.
Shaba Faikush of Hungary, 24-year-old. In the '88 Olympics, his team finished 6th. He was 14th in the all-around.
The regrouping of the hands is not a deduction, though. Is that right?
Well, it
It's
depends
a
on how
step on the.
it depends on how blatant. If they're shifting around with their hands so much that it takes away from the routine, then yes, you saw him move his hands there simply because he was off balance. But he has a habit of kind of just shifting his hands there, and that I think looks better if the gymnast can show control, where you do a stitch to a handstand or a press to a handstand, and you stay solid. For example, the gymnasts from China are very solid on the parallel bars. You don't see that kind of action. As we look now on the pommel horse.
Guo Linyao of China. Baikus 9.325, and he has certainly lost some of his snaps since the 88 games.
This is a great pommel horse man, second to Belenki at the World Championships in 1981. Let's see if he can top him in the pommel horse compulsory. So far, very clean, very nice. Here's his care out, the care in. Here's his hop half turn. And right up to a handstand? Yes, you bet. Let's see what score this gets. I'm curious to see if he's going to score as high as Belenki.
9.75 is what Belenki got, and while we await that score, we tell you that Jair Lynch of the USA out of Stanford University is in his floor exercise.
I question whether he's going to score as high as Belenki, but we'll see. Very nice, clean, confident routine, though, on pommel horse.
Linyao 9.7. It is the second best on the pommel horse.
I should have been brave and predicted the 9.7, but in my mind I was thinking, you know, he'll probably go about a 9.7. But then if I said that, he'd probably go about 9.6.
Oh, well, we're going to start pressing you now, Peter Vidmar.
Oh, no. Test my judging skills here.
He's happy with it, Guo Linyao. And the applause for Jair Lynch, who just completed his floor routine. We're not choosing the pictures up here that you see, just taking them as they come to us off the world feed. Jair Lynch, to take the lead away, would have to top Valeri Belenki's 9.875, and our statistician Paul Zert is shaking his head and saying, no, it won't be that high a score. Next up, and we see him now, is John Roethlisberger, who is a second-generation U.S. Olympian.
But third-generation gymnast. His grandfather was a gymnast in the Turnvereins, which is that the Turners were a very... they paved the way in gymnastics in the USA years ago.
Lynch, Jair Lynch, 9.525, 13th best. And now it is up to John Roethlisberger to try to top that. He has been the U.S. national champion.
He's a two-time NCAA all-around champion, just won this year. Upset once again, or defeated for the second year in a row, Scott Keswick in the all-around, the NCAA championships.
And coached by his father, Fred, as we said, Olympian in the 60s at the University of Minnesota.
Something good in the genes in this family, though. John's a very good floor performer. His optional floor routine is excellent. Did one of the finest routines I've seen in a while at the Olympic trials. Here's his front tumbling pass, nice and high. Good high tuck back flip. And here's the scale.
If there's any complaint about Roethlisberger, that people say he's not flashy. He doesn't catch the eye.
It's interesting, too, because when you try to think of flashy skills, you can think of certain skills done by many gymnasts, and yet, amidst all of the talk of what's flashy and what's not, the smoke clears, the competition's over, and at the USA Championships, who's number one? John Roethlisberger. He's a very consistent performer. And I'll tell you, when you're a coach and you've got a team out there, you want guys like him to be consistent and solid all the time. someone that you can always depend on.
And that's not to say that he doesn't have the difficulty.
Oh, my goodness. You should see him on floor. He does a double twist and double back flip. He dismounts with a full in back out. Just a very, very difficult routine, the kind of routine that makes me glad I'm done.
Well, we'll see that day after tomorrow in the men's team competition optionals.
Very nice high layout full twist. This will score well. An impressive routine for John.
Certainly warm applause from the U.S. crowd as John Roethlisberger is the final competitor to go in rotation number 4, and so all eyes here in this 15,000-seat capacity Palau Sant Jordi gymnastics venue in Barcelona were focused on John. He had the stage to himself. Center stage is where the floor is.
By the sound of the crowd, either the Americans are here in force or they're very loud, because it seems to me like there are a lot of Americans here, maybe even more than the Spanish, or they're just not used to cheering that loud for their own gymnast here in Spain.
The athletes marching on now to the 5th rotation. 9th best for Roethlisberger, 9.60, and that's a solid performance.
And what's important about that, though, is that will help the team score, especially after, unfortunately, the disappointment of Jair Lynch's vault. Little pence here and there are going to make a difference and hopefully help the USA team to sneak up, for example, the team from Germany.
After 4 rotations, the all-around does not change. It's Belenki, who is number 1, 39.325 out of a possible 40. His teammate with the unified team, Grigori Misutin, 38.95, and then it's Bolenyao, 38.775. We see Misutin here on the vault. This was the vault that set the pace, got the highest score.
And Misutin does an absolutely fantastic handspring double front optional vault. Clearly he has a lot of power. Let's see if he uses that power for a high floating handspring full. Oh my goodness. Spectacular. They're going to have to lengthen the runway. It's kind of like extending the long jump pit if guys start jumping farther than 30 feet. Look at this. Unbelievable. The guy's in orbit.
9.725 Misutin was given on that, and the exciting part here is that we've got Belenki coming up next on the vault, who has surpassed every one of his teammates' performances.
You know, of all the shots where we use the Skycam, I would have liked to have seen the Skycam shot on that vault. Maybe his toes would have brushed the lens. We'll see.
I'm glad you have never been given to hyperbole, Peter Vidmar. Jin Jung, this was his performance on the high bar. Good enough for 3rd in the standing so far today. 9.75. Well, actually second, a tie for 2nd with Hatakeda.
And the key, once again, that shows power on high bar is the dismount. It's a double flyaway. Let's see how high he goes. Very high. Good open. Nice landing. This is a great routine.
Well, that routine put him in a tie for 2nd place on the high bar.
Here's his Veronin, the release move. Nice and high. It's a very clean routine.
Belenki, of course, who has the highest score on the high bar. Jin Jung, 9.750. Well, here's a look at what's coming up tomorrow on the Triple Cast. On the red channel, Matt Biondi will swim in the 100-meter free. If he wins any medal, he'll stand just 2 shy of the record held by Mark Spitz for most decorated American Olympian ever. And the women's gymnastics team final takes place on the white channel. That's us right here, Greg Lewis, Peter Vidmar, and Julianne McNamara, along with Wendy Hilliard. The USA has never won the women's team final, but Coach Bella Caroli has fashioned one of the strongest American gymnastics teams in years. The team final should be a heated 3-way scramble. The unified team, Romania and America. Live action begins at 5:30 Eastern and again at 2. And on the blue channel, traditionally America has never done very well in Greco-Roman wrestling. Tomorrow, 220-pound Dennis Kozlowski will try to become America's first ever double medalist in Greco-Roman action. That's tomorrow on the Triple Cast. Warm-ups now for the 5th rotation. The Americans, Jair Lynch and John Roethlisberger, will be on the pommel horse. Valeri Belenki goes to the vault. We'll see if he can continue his ability to surpass his teammate Misutin, who has surpassed everyone else each time he takes an apparatus. And Misutin moves on to the parallel bars. Team competition after 4 rotations is still the unified team in 1st, China 2nd, Japan 3rd, Germany 4th, the USA 5th.
As you look at Sven Tippelt of Germany getting ready to do his vault, 27 years old.
He'll be followed by Belenki.
Very powerful vaulter. Fast run, good approach, high and far, took a big step forward, however.
Didn't seem to have a lot of pop off.
No, he didn't. He traveled far. He traveled far, and you can see it's that motion that took him forward to take that step, but he didn't get the pop upward that he needed.
And that caused him to over-rotate slightly.
The one thing you don't want to do on a hamstring full twist is let those heels dig into the mat, because it's so easy to slip on these mats and sit down. Then it's a big deduction.
Sven Tippelt of Germany. One of the big differences between the men's and women's vault is that the men's horse in the vault, the vaulting horse, is longitudinal, whereas the women's horse is perpendicular. Why is that?
Well, the men's horse also is much higher as well. That's just the way the sport has evolved. And the girls, as you know, are much smaller. That horse would be very very high. Many of the girls are smaller than the horse itself, and it's just evolved over the years to go that way.
All right, here's Valeri Belenki. His teammate Misutin, a 9.725. And as we've said, Belenki has been able to take the lead on each apparatus, and this is his 5th.
Unbelievable. That was a great vault. I don't know, though, if he's going to beat his teammate.
He had a big step on the landing.
Got great distance.
I don't think it was as good as Misutin.
And if that's the case, Misutin would say, well, it's about time. We'll see what happens, though. Here's the best view of the vault. He had a very fast run, not a spectacular block to take him up, but he got a lot of distance. I'm sure he's still pleased. He knows he has the lead right now in the all-around, however. This is the thing that can happen, though. You look at a gymnast like Misutin, and if he
9.650. 9.650. So for the first time, he is frustrated in his effort. He has now got the lead on 4 out of 5 apparatus, but his teammate Misutin holds the lead on the vault, 9.725.
Well, Greg, back to what I was saying, though, is if you look at Belenki, if he defeats Misutin, if Korobczynski defeats Misutin, and if Sherba defeats Misutin, then the world champion doesn't even get a chance to make it into the all-around finals, and he can't compete and vie to defend his title. And that's how deep this team is in talent. And it's not because Misutin's having problems or making mistakes. It's just that the other guys are so good.
Next on the vault, Ivan Ivanov of Bulgaria.
Ooh, a complete catastrophe. Didn't twist, didn't do the vault. It's non-commensurate.
So
I need to check the rules on that, but I think that he would get a 0, but I'm not sure.
Well, what happened to him? Did he just lose concentration?
I have no idea. The board wasn't set right. You just have no idea.
Almost looks like the board was too close to the horse. The tip had the
I'll tell you, if the board was too close to the horse, it's totally the coach's fault. And, boy, is that frustrating.
The face tells the story for Ivan Ivanov. And the score is 0.00.
It's not. It's a non-commensurate vault. You have to at least before the vault. That's just a handspring vault. It has to be a handspring with a full twist. And major problem. You know, you think about things like this that happen. We saw this happen in the women's competition yesterday. And you don't train all your life to compete in the Olympics to have things like this happen to you. Now, fortunately, of course, he's young. He's got some years of competition ahead of him. And maybe he can take this as a springboard to make sure that things like this never happen again to him. And here's another one that had a problem, Jair Lynch on vault. Didn't quite have a 0 vault, but an 8.95 is certainly not what he's expecting. Could have got a very high score on vault, and now here he is trying to make up some points, for example, on pommel horse, which is a very good event for him. So far, he is right on. Little break at the end. That was a great routine. That was the best routine so far on pommel horse for the Americans, and they need that.
Well, it's Belenki who is the top scorer on the pommel horse with a 9.75.
Jair's best quality is his extension. He's very, very extended on his circles, as well as his single A work, his scissors. But his hips are nice and high. He swings very well. Little break right there. You saw his knees bend. And yet he still can score well.
Jair Lynch, relatively unknown in the international gymnastics world.
Well, he's young. I mean, he's got some good years of gymnastics ahead of him. I really believe that if he gets stronger, he'll be a key factor in 1996.
9.550 for Jair Lynch, and that is the 7th best of the men's team compulsory so far on the pommel horse. And we have an update on Misutin, who was on the parallel bars and scored a 9.75 and took the lead there. So again, he has set the table for Belenki to follow. John Roethlisberger on the pommel horse.
And here's someone again that is not typically known to be very, very strong on pommel horse, and yet, boy, he has a very hard optional routine. He swings very well, and he could score well here as well. Here's his flare sequence. Very nice.
He admits that compulsories are his weakest aspect.
Oh, boy. You know, I saw John in the warm-ups, in the workout session 2 days ago. He was doing this mount over and over and over again. Obviously, he knew it could be a problem for him, and as he came around to do it, this is going to be a big deduction for him. He had a very good routine going for him, just a very good routine.
Well, he appeared to be saying, ouch, 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 as he walked off, and that's for the mental pain, not physical pain.
That's for sure.
John Roethlisberger, part of a great American gymnastics tradition. His father in the 68 games, John born in 1970. Sister Marie, the alternate, in 84. And behind him, Jair Lynch has tuned into the music to take the pressure away. Roethlisberger, 9.150 is the score.
That's too bad.
And that's a full 0.6 less than Valeri Belenki. You know, it seems that the second group of men really haven't performed better than the first group of American men.
I knew that this second group needed to, in a way, pick up the pace. I know that Trent Demas and Dominic Minigucci had good competitions, but in terms of scores, the USA needs a little extra boost. They've got to do better, of course, than the other teams that are competing in this session. And when you have problems like this, it's not going to help if everybody else is hitting, and it's unfortunate.
Final competitor on the pommel horse in the 5th rotation, Duenev of Bulgaria.
The single leg sequence, the scissor sequence, that pendulum swing with the legs apart, is a very, very awkward sequence. This is a good routine, not real strong on the dismount, but everything else was done with good form, good extension.
A young gymnast, 19, Krasimir Nikolaev Duenev.
Here's his dismount, not quite as powerful, but it was a very clean routine. And here's an example of someone that knows his limitations, doesn't try to go all the way up to a handstand. Maybe John was trying to go all the way up to the handstand and just go for it, and that's why his hand slipped or why he had that problem.
The applause for Miguel Rubio, who is now going to mount the high bar. Of course, a Spanish competitor here with a partisan crowd.
And high bar is a very good event for Rubio.
Duenev score, 9.350. He is from Barcelona, so this is really a hometown crowd. Miguel Rubio ignites his fans.
I'm going to correct myself about what I said about Houston Baptist. They did have a very serious problem with an NCAA rules infraction involving a plane ticket for Alfonso Rodriguez, a teammate of Rubio's, could return to Madrid for his father's funeral. And the NCAA thought that this was a big enough infraction that they imposed a penalty on him in 1990. The next year, Houston Baptist dropped their gymnastics program.
Alain Nollet of Canada on the floor as we await Miguel Rubio's score. And when it flashes up, you'll hear more applause in the background.
Houston Baptist is now part of the NAIA.
9.525 for Miguel Rubio. And he is 30th best on the high bar. Alain Nollet. Is French. His mother is 3rd generation Japanese from Canada.
Full twist dismount, little hop in the end.
Nollet, a license to sell real estate, and did a pretty good job of buying and selling their real estate on the floor. Why hasn't Canada had stronger teams?
Well, lots of times it's just purely numbers. When you look at the number of boys, for example, that are participating in gymnastics in various countries, and the bigger the numbers, the more popular the sport, and of course the better the athletes do. In the former Soviet Union and the unified countries there, you have just a sport that's a part of their culture. Lots and lots of boys do gymnastics in that country.
9.3 for Alain Nollet of Canada. That's probably another reason, and spelled H-O-C-K-E-Y. You're going to be inside doing a sport, and you're from Toronto.
And anybody taller than me plays basketball in the United States, and so that's why you don't find a lot of gymnasts as well. And so we, in effect, won our gold medal defeating the Chinese at the Olympic Games in 1984 in spite of the numbers of boys that are participating in gymnastics, because the ratio, for example, of women to men in the USA is probably about 8 or 9, maybe even 10 to 1.
In the sport of
In
gymnastics.
the sport of gymnastics.
From the Czechos and Slovak republics, Alan Bogar.
Here's his scale.
Sorry.
Only 20 years old. He's very young. Most likely, if he keeps it up, we'll see him, of course, in Atlanta if he makes the team.
Which team, though? The Czech or the Slovak team? He is from the Slovak side.
And I would imagine they'll have separate teams then. Lots of new anthems. Can you imagine the cachet of cassette tapes with the various anthems that have to be carried around to every medal ceremony? Amazing.
Bugar of the Czech and Slovak Federal Republic. And that completes rotation number 5 of Subdivision 2, Competition 1A for men. One more rotation in this grouping. And it will put the Americans Jair Lynch and John Roethlisberger on the rings. Roethlisberger looking to redeem himself after disastrous dismount on the pommel horse. Valeri Belenki goes to the parallel bars to see if he can top Misutin. And Misutin goes to the high bar to see if he can top Belenki. It's the first time he has had a chance to follow his teammate. Bugar scored 9.150. So after 5 rotations of this group only, it remains Valeri Belenki on top, 48.975 out of a possible 50. Misutin is second, 48.700, and Guo Linyao of China in third, 48.475. John Roethlisberger in a tie for 14th, and Jair Lynch in 18th. And our men and the U.S. men in the first group, both higher than that. Let's now go down to Wendy Hilliard with Francis Allen, the head coach of the U.S. team, for an explanation of what's going on in this second group. Wendy?
Thanks, Greg. Francis, now this competition was a little bit different for the American team. Tell us about the performances of Jair and John.
Well, to defend them a little, some good parts about it is that Jair hit horse and John didn't. Well, what's going to happen down the road, especially in team gymnastics, when we put up 6 guys and they count 5 scores, going in tonight, if our 2 kids can do a good job on pommel horse, it won't affect us. And none of our gymnasts have missed in the same event. And again, when it comes down to team gymnastics and a team score, that's what a team has to do. What we really don't like is putting pressure on tonight's guys. Tonight's guys know that we sort of missed one horse routine a little bit, and then we really missed one, that they cannot miss a horse routine. Well, that puts an added pressure on, let alone, the Olympic Games. The thing you've been working all your, let me put this, amateur life for. Excuse the term. It's real loosely thrown around the floor. Your amateur life, looking at the Olympics, that's enough nerve-wracking, to put on your back. But the kids so far have done a good job. We've been fighting for all of our scores. I don't think we've really had, in my estimation, any point where we've really been given a score. The kids are doing a great job. They're hanging in together. Like Jair missed a vault. John came back and did a vault. And then they both went to parallel bars and did a good job. Both of them did a good job on horizontal bar. I thought both of them did a great job on floor. Maybe didn't get to score some of the other people to get Jair. I thought did a great job on floor. But then again, maybe that'll come back later when they see him in the optional. So far, they're hanging together, and that's what we need to do.
Well, with Jair being new to the international scene, do you think that's one of the reasons he's not getting the higher scores?
Definitely. These people don't know him that well, but what I do think, he's making a very good impression for himself for the future. And again, in my opinion, he's one of the newer generation gymnasts for the United States, and he's going to be a leader for us going into 88, and we need him to experience this.
One quick comment. Can we depend on Scott and Chris tonight? Are they experienced enough to carry the the U.S. team do?
Well, they are experienced enough, and I think they're rugged enough, and they're in real good shape. So I expect them to really shine tonight.
Thank you, Francis. Back to you, Greg.
Thank you, Wendy Hilliard and Francis Allen, the head coach of the U.S. men's Olympic team. Peter Vidmar, let's talk for a minute here. In the first group, Dominic Minicucci finishing 10th relative to his group. Trent Demas of the USA finishing 7th relative to his group. And now we have Roethlisberger and Lynch relative to their group. The second group, Roethlisberger in a tie for 14th, Lynch in a tie for 18th. That's a pretty dramatic fall-off.
Yeah, it's a disappointment. And what matters most, though, is who is it that's moving up ahead of them. If it's countries behind them in the lower score, well, then it's not that bad. But if it's the countries ahead, that means that they're just simply pulling away. I don't know how far right now the USA team is from, for example, 3rd place or 4th place.
Well, doing some quick mathematics here, we can tell you what they are behind the unified team, who is in first. It is 3.65 points behind the unified team now. So that's a pretty a big drop.
And yet that's to be expected. The unified team is certainly going to run away with this competition if they don't have any more mistakes. And yet for them to challenge Japan, for example, who's sitting in 3rd, being very, very consistent, they're going to have to move up. They're going to have some changes in their performances. They're going to have to hit for the rest of their performances. Scott Keswick, Chris Waller, and the 2 gymnasts from Japan may have to have some problems.
Well, the USA is 2.325 points behind Japan in 3rd right now, with one more rotation in the second group. And of course, later today, this evening here in Barcelona, the 3rd group comes up, and that will be Chris Waller and Scott Keswick for the USA, who are really dramatically the strongest of the
well, they are, but I have to be honest, John Roethlisberger has been consistent. He's the defending USA all-around champion, and we were expecting to have some very high scores from him to help boost the team score. But certainly, I think in international gymnastics, Chris Waller's proved himself well. Scott Keswick was 10th in the world last year in 1991 in the all-around, and had a chance to win gold medals on 2 separate events, on rings and on the horizontal bar. So internationally, he's got a very good name. He's powerful. The type of gymnastics that he does is exciting in this community. And so I think that he should be well received. But the point is no matter how good you are, no matter how good your reputation is, you've got to hit your routines.
And I think that it's important for them to keep the morale up. I mean, after the first session, it was so high. Trent and Dominic had both done so well. And now there's a little bit of a letdown, and I think that it's the most important thing for them to do is to keep their spirits high and really go after and concentrate on what they're going to do.
No question about it. No question about it. In 1984, Mitch Gaylord missed his... as we watched Belenki on the parallel bars, Mitch very briefly missed his routine on the horizontal bar, and A.B. looked at Mitch, the head coach, A.B. Grossfield, says, Mitch, you could still win the all-around. And that kind of snapped him out of it and got him back in the competition to say, hey, life's not over.
Belenki chasing against Misutin again, who has the highest score. His teammate, 9.75.
Look at Belenki's toe point. It's the finest toe point so far of the competition. And while we don't want to dwell too much on one little thing like how loose your ankles are, it just looks very, very nice to be that crisp and clean. Very nice dismount. This will score well. This will score well.
9.75. Grigori Misutin of the unified team is the highest score on the parallel bars, and Valeri Belenki, who has been able to surpass Misutin on all apparatus so far but the vault. Well, meanwhile, we're going to have
4-1, right?
Yeah, well, we're going to have Misutin taking a shot at Belenki's score on the high bar, which is 9.825.
Boy, Belenki sure to get off to a good start here. P-bars is a very good routine here.
He really does have beautiful form. He not only just points his toe, but his whole foot.
Yeah.
And the 2 best, at least as the coaches see them, of the unified team to come. 9.80, and Valeri Belenki has done it once again. He has gone to the top of the standings on the parallel bars, and number 2 now is his teammate, who had held the lead briefly for one rotation. How about in optionals? We're going to see this much style and
oh, absolutely.
Ability from
We'll
Belenki.
see a lot of flash in terms of the level of difficulty of the skills.
This is Takeda of Japan on vault.
Little hop in the landing. This is a difficult vault to land. Once again, as Julianne talked about the Yamashita there with a half twist for women, it's easy to see the ground on land, and yet he gets remarkable distance, very, very far.
And this is
very,
totally
very far.
blind landing. It's very difficult when you can't see the ground before you land.
You know, we've watched more than 50 men here today in this vault, and we have yet to see anybody really have what I would call a solid landing.
Now, I've seen a couple stuck vaults where they actually landed perfectly. However, the vault itself wasn't very powerful. You know, if you get a lot of power out there, the velocity is so tremendous that it's much more difficult to land it perfectly. As a result, a lot of hops on the very powerful vaults.
9.60 for Takeda, and that is the fourth best. And now the man who has been running in third in the competition, Guolin Yao of China.
Little joking around before his vault.
Yeah, is he feeling the pressure?
Must feel pretty good about himself right now. He says, hey, I'm sitting pretty. Let's see what happens here in vault. It reminds me of the attitude that we saw in Li Ning many times. Always smiling. Here he goes. Oops, maybe he should have gotten a little more serious there. It was a good vault, but he took that hop on the landing.
His expression changed to reflect your comments as well. Not so well.
Here's the best view of the vault. Just didn't have a tremendous block. He could have blocked more, which would have stopped the rotation as much. By rotating forward, he had to take those little hops and steps.
Blocking means?
Well, when the arms hit the horse, we call that blocking the horse.
9.550, ninth best, the score for Guolin Yao.
If the hands stay soft on the horse, the body will continue to rotate. So you want to block the rotation to be able to not over-rotate, which was the problem, for example, that Jair Lynch had on his vault when he over-rotated his handspring full twist.
Guo's teammate Li Chungyang of China.
Very high, very explosive, but he rotated too much and had to take that hop. What's interesting is as I watch these vaults right from the start, you can tell once they hit the horse, you know if they're going to over-rotate or not because they simply haven't blocked enough.
Jair Lynch just finished his rings performance, a 9.475. Not the kind of score American fans would have hoped for. Only 32nd best on the rings, and John Roethlisberger is now coming up on the rings as we await the score of the Chinese competitor Li Chungyang. Li Chungyang, 9.525. And that is 14th best. Misutin appears very safe in the top spot. And we are not going to see Roethlisberger's rings routine as we go now to Ruggero Rossato of Italy. The applause for Misutin on the high bar. Can he take the lead away from Belenki? Belenki had a 9.825. You can hope that our world coverage will bring you Misutin's high bar performance after the rotation has been completed.
The Italian team doing quite well here. So far, they are sitting in, I think, 6th place. Not a bad vault. Nice and powerful. Got a lot of distance.
He almost stuck that landing.
Misutin 9.8 on the high bar. Belenki had a 9.825. So out of the 6 apparatus in this group 2, Belenki winning 5 and setting the pace on 5, and Misutin winning 1, the vault, and setting the pace for that of all competitors so far today.
And yet, look at the difference in the all-around scores, though. There really is just a few tenths of a point separating Belenki from Misutin. They're very, very close still, although in the all-around.
John Roethlisberger, a 9.7, sixth best on the ring. So Roethlisberger comes back strong.
That's good. He needs that. It's nice to end the competition on a good note. Remind yourself, hey, I can do it. So come on, let's get ready for the optionals. Got a day of rest tomorrow. And see what happens in the team final. See if they can move up, because they're going to have to.
Well, Coach Francis Allen made a good point, too. He said, you know, we have had some poor performances on some of the apparatus, but fortunately, no two athletes on the same apparatus.
Which is the same thing that's happening to the Soviets, the unified team as well.
The cheers for the finished performance of Miguel Rubio of Barcelona, the hometown favorite, on the floor.
As we just finishing on the parallel bars, watching Oliver Grimm of Switzerland. Another bird's eye view. See the kind of grip the gymnasts must have in their hands. The parallel bars used to be made of wood, but while they do look like they are made of wood, there is actually it's a fiberglass underneath, somewhat of a fiberglass material, with a wood laminate over it, a composite material. And yet that laminate is not very grippy. It's very difficult to hold on to the bars, and so many times the gymnast will take a wet rag with sugar and water on it and wipe it across the bars, grind the chalk into the bars to give them a very good grip.
Grimm score 9.350. The hisses from the crowd are for Miguel Rubio's score on the floor of 9.5.
A famous moment in the history of world gymnastics was at the 1966 World Championships in Dortmund. Doris Fuchs-Braus on the uneven parallel bars did a spectacular routine, got a low score, and the crowd booed and held up the competition for 45 minutes.
Coming up on the parallel bars now, from Romania, Gal.
A little low on his first two skills is Peach and his front uprise stitz. Got a nice clean line on his handstand. There's his cast to his straddle cut L. Little bobble.
His moment of glory coming in 1990, third in the floor exercise of the European Championships, Adrian Gal of Bucharest, Romania.
Came apart on that stitch there. Here's his dismount as a pike open. It's a very awkward dismount too. It's hard to get that amplitude on the pike open. You have to be just right on. Little way, one way you can fall back, go too far forward, lose the height.
9.450 for Adrian Gal of Romania. And we'll see where our coverage takes us next as we get close to the conclusion of the sixth rotation. It appears we will stay on the parallel bars and have Sven Tippelt of formerly East Germany. He is the last competitor now competing for the unified Germany. Last competitor to go in the sixth rotation. This will complete the second group. Later this evening we'll have the third group. And it should spotlight the premier performers from each team.
Little break in his legs and his front upright stitch, but he's a good performer in parallel bars. Third at the Goodwill Games in Moscow in 1986. Third in 1987 at the World Championships on parallel bars. And the bronze medalist in Seoul at the Olympics on parallel bars. Beautiful back toss. Very nice dismount. A little hop in the end.
But Tippelt nonetheless showing that he still has that love of the parallel bars and the skill level there to have a top performance.
It's hard to catch, but if we get a chance to see his dismount again, whenever Tipple does a routine that he's pleased with, he claps his hands together above his head. He's been doing this for years. Here's his dismount. Pike open and lands. Oh, we didn't see it. Usually he claps his hands together. He did it a little earlier.
9.525 for Tippelt. And that was 15th best. Valeri Belenki, we have mentioned his name so many times, is the highest. And we go here to John Roethlisberger's performance on the rings. This was earlier. And it was the 6th best performance at 9.7.
This is where he pulls off the kid gloves and just says, let's just go for it. Very nice as he lowers down. Here's his cross. With a nice shoot to a handstand. Here's a straddle L. Now comes his hollow back press to a handstand. Nice and steady. See how his arms are free from the straps. His arms are not touching the ring straps. That's a sign of a very good handstand. Here's the in-locate. Nice and high. Good high dismount. The stuck landing. He's got a very good score. Here's the dismount again. Nice and high. Very clean routine. Makes up a little bit. Not enough, but a little bit for his pommel horse mistake.
And for John Roethlisberger, a 9.7, the 6th best performance on the rings. We await to see if we will get Misutin's performance on the high bar, and yes, we do. And he, of course, was trying to displace his teammate, Valeri Belenki, atop the high bar.
This routine, though, did not go all the way up to the handstand. Misutin, even right there and right there, did not go all the way up to the handstand. Just missed it a tad. A little bit short there on the stoop. His legs came apart a little bit. So this routine did not score as high as Belenki simply because it wasn't as good. There's his Veronin. Just a little flat on all of the handstand possibilities. But in control on the double tuck. Opens up. And sticks the landing.
With that, Misutin and Belenki led the unified team to the top spot in the team standings so far. Number 2 behind them is China. Number 3, Japan. Now, this is after 2/3 of the men's competition in compulsories, but remember again, the lowest score of each 6-man team will be dropped. So there'll be some effect that we won't be able to anticipate until after the last group has gone. The USA in 5th now behind Germany, Japan, China, and the unified team. Italy is chasing the USA. For the men individually, well, it was Valeri Belenki who has taken over the lead in the all-around. His teammate Misutin of the unified team in 2nd. Guo Linyao of China 3rd. The Americans, Trent Demas is tied for 17th with John Roethlisberger. That's after the first 2 groups. Dominique Minicucci, 56.775, has him in 26th place. Jair Lynch in 30th place. Now, that's the way it goes now. We have another group coming up later. Remember that tonight, the final group of men will be seeing the top U.S. competitors, Chris Waller, Scott Keswick, and also the top from the unified team, and that will be Igor Korobchinsky and Vitaly Sherbov. So the battle continues. Also, the Chinese will have their top competitors in this final grouping. So for Julianne McNamara, Peter Vidmar, and Wendy Hilliard, this is Greg Lewis, and we hope to see you later for group number 3, men's team competition compulsories.